From Pacifica, this is Democracy Now!
Extremist Republicans in the House of Representatives are attempting to torpedo the Senate's bipartisan progress with a bill that can't pass the Senate, and won't pass the Senate.
As the partial shutdown of the federal government enters its 16th day, the nation's on the brink of a default. While the Senate appears close to a bipartisan deal, a campaign to persuade House Republicans to lift the federal debt limit collapsed Tuesday. We'll speak with Robert Borisage of the Institute for America's Future and look at what gets closed and what stays open during the government shutdown with Amanda Turkle of the Huffington Post. Then the Obama administration's facing criticism from arms control groups as it relaxes key controls on military exports and a boon for military contractors. We'll speak with Bill Hartung.
Not only Obama, but the Congress, which gets millions of dollars from the industry, has people working there who used to work for companies like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman at the top levels of the Armed Services Committee in the two houses.
All that and more coming up. Welcome to Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, the War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. The United States is teetering on the brink of default as tomorrow's deadline to raise the debt ceiling approaches. On Tuesday, the Senate appeared to be moving closer to a deal to raise the debt limit and reopen the government, but House Republicans failed twice to produce their own plan. House Speaker John Boehner addressed reporters.
The team met with our members today, trying to find a way forward in a bipartisan way that would continue to provide fairness to the American people under Obamacare. There are a lot of opinions about what direction to go. There have been no decisions about what exactly we will do.
We'll have more on the fiscal standoff after headlines. In Japan, at least 17 people are dead after a powerful typhoon whipped the eastern coast. It was the strongest typhoon to hit the area in 10 years. Typhoon Wipa raised fears about further damage to the embattled Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant, which has been plagued by radioactive leaks since it was damaged by an earthquake and tsunami in 2011. In the Philippines, the death toll from a 7.2 magnitude earthquake has risen to 144, with nearly 300 more injured. The quake devastated the central islands of Bohol and Cebu, leveling homes and historic churches. Negotiations over Iran's disputed nuclear program are entering their second and final day in Geneva. On Tuesday, Iran gave a PowerPoint presentation outlining a proposal to curb its nuclear efforts in a bid to ease crippling economic sanctions. Iran's deputy foreign minister said the other 6 countries attending the talks appeared receptive to Iran's plan.
We are very serious. We are not here to just symbolically. We are not here to waste our time. We are serious for real target-oriented negotiations between Iran and the other side. And we believe that the plan that we have introduced has the capacity to reach that.
The Iranian and U.S. delegations also met separately for bilateral talks Tuesday. Glenn Greenwald, the journalist who's broken numerous stories about National Security Agency spying using documents from Edward Snowden, has announced he's leaving the Guardian newspaper. In a statement posted on his blog, Greenwald wrote he had been, quote, presented with a once-in-a-career dream journalistic opportunity that no journalist could possibly decline. Reuters reports Greenwald is joining a new media venture funded by eBay founder and multi-billionaire Pierre Omidyar. In economic news, new research shows more than half of low-wage workers at fast food restaurants rely on public assistance to survive, a rate double that of the overall workforce. According to researchers at the University of California, Berkeley, low wages in the fast food industry cost American taxpayers nearly $7 billion every year. That's more than the entire annual budget of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. A companion report by the National Employment Law Project found McDonald's alone costs Americans $1.2 billion annually by paying its workers insufficient wages. Last year, the top 10 largest fast food companies alone made more than $7.4 billion in profits. Meanwhile, a Yale University professor who won the Nobel Prize for Economics this week has warned rising economic inequality is the most pressing issue facing the United States. Robert Shiller, known for forecasting the dangers of the dot-com and housing market bubbles, was one of 3 Americans awarded the prize. He spoke on Monday.
First of all, it's not the financial crisis per se, but the most important problem that we are facing now today, I think, is rising inequality in the United States and elsewhere in the world. This is a problem that has solutions. Many of them are financial solutions. Finance is substantially about risk management, and if it's applied right, if it's democratized, that means if the real tools are made useful to real people and not to just a minority of people, it can help solve these problems.
Public Accountability Initiative has revealed many purported experts who made the case for military strikes on Syria in the mainstream media had undisclosed ties to military contractors. The report identifies 12 commentators with industry ties, 22 commentators with industry ties that suggest a financial interest in war. While they appeared on TV or were quoted as experts 111 times, their links to military firms were disclosed only 13 times. The study highlights the case of Stephen Hadley, a former national security advisor to President George W. Bush, who spoke on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and Bloomberg TV and wrote a Washington Post op-ed urging U.S. strikes on Syria. In none of those appearances was it disclosed that Hadley serves as director of Raytheon, the company that makes the Tomahawk cruise missiles widely touted as the weapon of choice for bombing Syria. Hadley earns more than $128,000 a year in compensation from Raytheon and holds more than 11,000 shares of Raytheon stock, which rocketed to an all-time high during the Syria debate. A group of Guantanamo prisoners are vowing to continue their hunger strike against indefinite detention and prison conditions. The U.S. military stopped releasing data on the hunger strike last month after its tally of participants dropped to 19. But in an article translated by his lawyer and posted by Al Jazeera, Moath al-Alwi, a Yemeni man who's been in U.S. custody since 2002, says he's remained on hunger strike for nearly 9 months despite painful force feedings. He wrote, quote, "The U.S. military prison staff's intent is to break our peaceful hunger strike. The result can be read all over my body. It's visible on my bloodied nose and in my nostrils, swollen shut from the thick tubes the nurses force into them." Al-Alwi says some prisoners ended their hunger strikes to avoid force feeding or give President Obama time to deliver on a renewed pledge to close Guantanamo. But, quote, "As for my brothers and me," he wrote, "we will remain on hunger strike. We pray that the next thing we taste is freedom," he said. A news analysis in the journal PLOS Medicine says close to 500,000 people have died as a result of the U.S. invasion of Iraq. Based on a survey of 2,000 Iraqi households, researchers estimated 405,000 people had died from the occupation, plus at least 55,000 more deaths missed because families had left Iraq. More than 60% of deaths were attributed to violence, with the rest stemming from the devastation of infrastructure and other war-related causes. Some earlier studies have put the toll of the Iraq invasion even higher. A 2006 report in The Lancet found 655,000 people died in the first 40 months of the war. The U.S. Supreme Court appears poised to uphold Michigan's voter-approved ban on affirmative action at state colleges and universities. An appeals court previously ruled the ban violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. But during oral arguments Tuesday, Justice Antonin Scalia reportedly claimed the 14th Amendment, quote, protects all races, not, quote, only the blacks. The Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case challenging the Obama administration's major regulations on greenhouse gas emissions from power plants and factories. The court will review a federal appeals court decision that unanimously upheld the Environmental Protection Agency's ability to curb carbon dioxide and other gases that fuel global warming. In New York City, the trial is opened in a lawsuit by Chevron against the victims of its pollution in Ecuador. The Ecuadorians won a landmark $18 billion judgment against Chevron in 2011 for widespread contamination resulting from toxic dumping by Texaco, which Chevron later bought. Now Chevron is suing the victims and their U.S. lawyer, accusing them of using bribery. Critics say Chevron is attempting to evade accountability for environmental devastation they say led to some 1,400 deaths from cancer. Han Chan, a communications consultant for the victims, spoke as Ecuadorian villagers and their supporters rallied across from the courthouse on Tuesday.
Nearly every single person who's been named as a defendant in Chevron's retaliatory RICO suit has loved ones, has family members who've died, who've contracted cancer, who've suffered from birth defects and other oil-related illness due to Chevron's contamination. This lawsuit essentially rubs salt in their wounds.
Florida has executed a convicted murderer using a never-before-used drug cocktail that appeared to make him retain consciousness longer as he died. William Happ was injected with the sedative midazolam, despite concerns it might not work properly and could inflict cruel and unusual punishment. Florida used the drug as a substitute for pentobarbital, which has been in short supply after the Danish manufacturer prohibited its use in executions. William Happ was pronounced dead 14 minutes after his execution began Tuesday evening. He reportedly appeared to remain conscious longer and to move more frequently while unconscious than prisoners given the old drug. A rape case in Maryville, Missouri, has sparked national outrage after the charges were dropped against a well-connected high school football player, and the victim's family was forced to leave town amidst daily harassment from residents. Last January, 14-year-old Daisy Coleman blacked out after being given large amounts of alcohol at a party. She was then allegedly raped while another boy videotaped the attack. Daisy's 13-year-old friend was also allegedly raped the same night. Daisy was then dropped on her front porch, barely conscious in 22-degree weather, where her mother found her in the morning. Despite evidence and interviews supporting the case against the accused, prosecutors dropped the felony charges. Daisy's alleged rapist, Matthew Barnett, is the grandson of a powerful local political figure. In the months that followed, Daisy's mother was fired, her boss admitted the case was the reason, and her children were routinely harassed and threatened. Later, the family's house was burned down. The cause remains unknown. The case was described in the Kansas City Star and has since gone viral. On Monday, the hacker group Anonymous posted a video comparing Maryville to Steubenville, Ohio, where high school football players raped a 16-year-old girl.
If Maryville won't defend these young girls, if the police are too cowardly or corrupt to do their jobs, if justice system has abandoned them, then someone else will have to stand for them. Mayor Jim Fall, your hands are dirty. Maryville, expect us.
Former San Diego Mayor Bob Filner, who was forced to resign amidst claims of sexual harassment by at least 17 women, has pleaded guilty to felony imprisonment and battery. The charges stem from separate incidents where Filner allegedly put one woman in a headlock and restrained her, kissed another against her will, and groped a third. Under the plea deal, Filner will avoid prison time, serving 3 months of home confinement and 3 years of probation. The son of Wisconsin's Sikh temple president, killed in a shooting rampage, says he'll run as a Democrat to challenge Republican Congressmember Paul Ryan in next year's congressional race. Amar Kalika told the Associated Press he'll file paperwork today to launch an exploratory committee. Kalika is an Emmy award-winning filmmaker whose father, Sudvant Kalika, was among 6 worshippers killed last August when a white supremacist opened fire at a Sikh temple in Oak Creek, Wisconsin. Among other issues, Kalika says he's been angered by Congress's failure to pass stronger background checks for gun buyers. Voters in New Jersey are going to the polls today to fill the Senate seat left vacant by the death of Senator Frank Lautenberg. Newark Democratic Mayor Cory Booker is leading in the polls against his Republican rival, Steve Lonigan, a former mayor and former state director of the Koch-backed Americans for Prosperity. New Jersey Republican Governor Chris Christie called the special election at a projected cost of $24 million, rather than waiting 3 weeks until Election Day, when he himself is up for re-election. And the actor and activist Harry Belafonte is suing the children of his close friend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. The dispute centers on 3 documents Belafonte tried to put up for auction in 2008 in order to benefit a nonprofit that works with street gangs. The documents include King's outline for a speech on Vietnam and notes that were in his pocket when he was assassinated. Belafonte says they were given to him rightfully by Dr. King and others, but they have been in legal limbo after King's heirs claimed they were taken without permission, one of several attempts by the heirs to reclaim control of King's documents. Harry Belafonte is now asking a federal court to uphold his rightful ownership. He told the New York Times, quote, "The papers are symbolic. It's really about what happened to the children, and I feel that somewhere in this one area I really failed Martin," he said. And those are some of the headlines. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman.